That was Luther Vandross. Don't you know that you can tell a lot about a nation by the way it pulls together or conversely pulls apart during a time of need, during an emergency, during a disaster like a fire, a flood, a hurricane, mudslides, or an apocalyptic pandemic. You can tell a lot about a nation by the way it works together or that it works apart. Case in point, a devastating hurricane totaling, I guess, so far early estimates that it may do $47 billion worth of damage. And at this point of this broadcast, 88 souls have been lost. But the interesting part about this is that Rick Scott, who is one of the current senators from Florida, and also Marco Rubio, a current senator from Florida, they voted against the very hurricane relief that they're now seeking. As a matter of fact, when Ron DeSantis was a member of the Tea Party and the Congress, he voted against hurricane relief for Sandy. Now, Hurricane Sandy, a devastating earthquake in its own right, the wall of water rose, the sea level rose, it flooded out, damaging the subways and buildings and the infrastructure, and it did $70 to $80 billion worth of business. But it hit the Mid-Atlantic and the northeastern states. And Marco Rubio thought it was government overreach, that the government was being frivolous in helping citizens out. Now, that very governor needs the very relief, and those senators need the very relief that they were going to deny someone else. The very relief. As a matter of fact, when Donald Trump was president, a hurricane in 2016 devastated Puerto Rico. He went over there and acted very cruel and threw paper towels at them. In California, a couple of years ago, was hit with devastating fires. He begrudgingly went there, and then he mocked the state, saying he threatened to pull federal funds unless they swept the floors. And isn't it very ironic that the very things, the brooms and the paper towels that he alluded that California and Puerto Rico needed, now is needed in Florida? Isn't it funny that Ron DeSantis made a theater, great theater, a grand theater out of going to get Venezuelan immigrants from Texas and flying them to Martha's Vineyard to talk about how porous our borders are. I wonder who Ron DeSantis thinks is going to help him rebuild the devastation that has happened in Florida. Who you think is going to drag those yachts off the Marriott? I guarantee you some of them will be some of the brown people that he maligned right now. You can tell a lot about a nation by the way it pulls together or apart. There are some men who only who only think about themselves or their constituents. There are some men that are so short-sighted they forget that hurricanes happen all the time, natural disasters happen all the time, and that they one day might be in need. They might need the very relief they denied people. They might need the very compassion and grace that they sought to not give to someone else. You can tell a lot about a nation by the way it pulls together or apart. So Rick Scott, a senator from Florida, Marco Rubio, a senator from Florida, and Ron DeSantis, a governor from Florida. I can only hope that one day, and this is your time of need, that one day, if you need help again, that the Congress and the Senate are not filled with men who think just like you. That I can only get grace, but never give it. That's a little note from the GED section. We got the Jazz Report coming up in 15 minutes. It's the D.L. Hughley Show.